there are ancient symbols that carry an invisible force. This force has crossed generations, empires, and entire civilizations, like a secret thread connecting the past to the present. The ancient Jewish sages believed that every gesture, every word, and every object placed before us could open or close energy portals, influencing protection, prosperity, and destiny. And there is a secret, a silent ritual placed at the entrance, which according to the Talmud and Kabbalistic tradition can transform the home into a field of spiritual light. It is not magic, it is connection. It is as if you were writing a sacred code that communicates with the laws of the universe and reminds creation daily that light takes precedence over everything. But before revealing what is placed at the door, we need to understand why the door is the central point of everything. In Jewish wisdom, the door represents the boundary between the outside world and the interior. It is the place where forces enter and exit. Everything that passes through a door carries energy with it, good or bad, light or heavy. That is why ancient masters taught that if we want protection and abundance, we must take care of what is at the entrance of our lives. When a house bears constant disputes, silent sadness, or a feeling of blockage, the wise would say, "Observe what is at your doors, because that is where the energetic field of the home begins." And that is why the ancients placed something there, not just a simple object, but a symbol, a reminder, a blessing portal. Something that represents commitment to the Creator, wisdom, and goodness. You will understand what this object is, but first it is necessary to understand the spiritual principle that makes it so powerful, because in Kabbalah nothing is random. The Kabbalists claimed that everything is language, a gesture, a sound, a simple object. Everything communicates with the invisible realm. Those who learn to read these codes awaken. Therefore, when they spoke about placing something at the door, it was not just about a physical symbol, but about aligning the visible with the invisible. The door of a house, according to the Zohar, is the point where the forces of light and darkness meet. And every time we cross this threshold, we carry with us thoughts, emotions, and intentions. Imagine how many times we arrive home after a heavy day, bringing worries, fear, unconscious envies, or the pain of the world. All of this passes through the door and spreads if there is nothing there to filter this energy. That is why the ancients said, "Protect your entrance, and your soul will remain in peace." In Kabbalah, the door also represents the doors of consciousness. Every decision, every thought we allow to enter opens or closes internal dimensions. So, what is at the physical door reflects what is at the door of the soul. The Jews understood this deeply. That is why they did not place just any object. What remains at the door is written with sacred letters, because each Hebrew letter carries a spiritual vibration, a divine frequency. The scroll inside the container is not just text. It is a living reminder of the laws of light. But the secret is not only in the object, it is in the act of placing it. When someone fixes something with intention, they create a silent, energetic covenant. It silently says, "From here inward, only what is of peace enters. Only what is of light remains. Only what is true grows." The Torah teachers explain that God manifests himself in small actions and not just in big ones. Lighting a candle, writing a blessing, placing a symbol, all of these create points of contact between the physical and the spiritual. And perhaps you think, "But I am not Jewish. Does this apply to me?" Yes, the principles are universal. You can place near the door a blessing phrase, a lit candle with intention, a plant, a stone, anything that symbolizes life and presence. The important thing is not the object, but the consciousness it carries. In Jewish tradition, the home is a sanctuary, a small temple where the divine presence rests. Caring for the energy of the entrance is caring for the soul that dwells inside. But what exactly is placed there? What carries such power that it can change the destiny of a house? The answer comes from one of humanity's oldest traditions, kept for centuries among masters and disciples. But before revealing it, it is necessary to understand why so many people sought this same type of protection and how Jewish wisdom transformed a simple gesture into an eternal connection with the Creator. There is a reason why this tradition has survived for over 3,000 years, No people maintain a ritual for so long if there is no real evidence of its impact. The rabbis observed something that modern science is only beginning to understand. The energy of intention shapes reality. For them, the physical world is a shadow of the spiritual. When something is placed at the door containing words of light, an energy seal is created that prevents negative forces from entering. It is not superstition, it is spiritual science. This secret has been passed down through generations, only to those ready to understand that prosperity and protection are not results of luck, but of alignment with invisible laws. And if you want to understand why the Jewish people are prosperous and resilient, it is not just because of intelligence or business acumen. It is because of spiritual principles that govern abundance. And the door is just the beginning. There are places in the house that are physical, but there are also subtle portals. The Kabbalists called these points she'arim, the gates of energy. And among all of them, the most powerful is the main door because it is through it that life enters and exits. Every time someone crosses this threshold, thoughts, memories, and intentions pass through as well. When there is no awareness, the flow becomes chaotic. The house absorbs fear, haste, arguments, scarcity. But the ancients discovered that the door can be a spiritual contract, a place where you declare what kind of energy you wish to allow. That is why they placed there a symbol that not only represents faith but also vibrates words of power written in Hebrew, letters that, according to the Talmud, sustain the universe. These letters are not drawings but sounds and frequencies. When written with reverence and placed at the threshold, they create a bridge between the home and the divine. But it is not the object itself that protects, but the intention. The Kabbalists said that every physical action must have a spiritual parallel. If you want protection, hanging something is not enough. You must carry within yourself the purpose of living in light. Want a simple gesture? Before leaving, touch your door and say, "May I carry light outward, and only peace inward." This gesture creates an energetic field. Also place something that symbolizes life, a plant, a blessing word. The secret is in transforming the ordinary into sacred. That is how the ancients opened the doors to abundance, by caring for the threshold between the world and the soul. In the next parts of this revelation, you will understand why the sacred text placed on the door contains specific letters and what their meaning is within the secret language of Kabbalah. According to the masters, Hebrew letters are not just graphic signs. They are vibrational codes, living forces, keys of energy. Each letter represents a channel that connects the visible world to the invisible, a spark of creation itself. That is why, when ancient sages wrote the text placed at the door, they did not merely record words. They anchored spiritual frequencies within a scroll. The text itself comes from one of the most powerful passages of the Torah, the Shema Israel, a declaration of unity affirming that everything that exists is an expression of the same divine presence. By writing these words and placing them at the entrance, the sages sealed the home with a sacred reminder. Everything is one, everything has a purpose, everything is enveloped in light. This scroll not only protects the physical space, it expands the consciousness of those living there. It serves as a daily reminder that true security arises from the perception of unity. When someone recognizes that the Creator and creation are inseparable, nothing inferior can penetrate this field. However, there is one more fascinating detail. On the outside of the container where this parchment is kept, what many simply call a tube, there is a specific letter, the letter Shin. This letter represents one of God's names, Shaddai, the Almighty, the Protector. The letter is placed facing outward, as if silently telling the world, "Here dwells the presence of light. Only good has passage here." The Kabbalists claim that the spiritual sound of this letter vibrates with the frequency of divine fire, the fire that purifies, transforms, and illuminates. That is why it is considered the first guardian of the door. Now imagine, every time you enter or exit, you pass under this symbolic vibration. Each crossing becomes a small purification, an invisible reminder that you are passing through an energetic portal. When this practice is done with intention, respect, and awareness, the entire home transforms. The energy begins to flow differently. The house becomes a microcosm of harmony. Every entry and exit becomes a small ritual of reconnection with the light. Even those who do not follow this tradition can learn from it. You can place words at the entrance that vibrate positivity, peace, gratitude, light. You can place a lit candle with the intention of harmony. You can put a plant that symbolizes life. What matters is not the origin of the symbol, it is the coherence between your inner self and your outer self. The masters always said, "The object is just the messenger. The light comes from intention." And here arises another profound teaching. Just as the physical door has a guardian, the soul also has its own internal guardians. If you allow negative thoughts to enter through the door of the mind, your energy becomes contaminated. If you allow resentments to enter through the door of the heart, your soul closes. But if, metaphorically, you place a spiritual mezuzah on the internal doors, words of love, forgiveness, and faith, nothing impure finds passage. Jewish wisdom teaches that everything is consciousness. Everything begins within. And when the home is aligned with inner light, something extraordinary happens. Abundance manifests. According to the ancients, protection and prosperity are two faces of the same divine presence. There is no prosperity where there is no light. And light, in the language of Kabbalah, means elevated consciousness. When a home vibrates in harmony, it becomes a magnet for opportunities. Energy flows effortlessly. Life opens up. But when the space is crowded with discussions, ingratitude, fear, the energy closes off like a source covered by stones. That is why Kabbalists taught that every negative thought is a stone thrown onto the very flow of prosperity. The object at the door then becomes more than a symbol. It is a reminder to watch one's own consciousness. There is a deep concept in the Torah called brasha, blessing. The masters taught that blessing is not a request, but a channel. The person who blesses becomes a conduit of divine energy, and where there is blessing, there is flow. That is why Jews, every time they pass through the door, touch the symbol and murmur a short phrase, reminding themselves that everything comes from the Creator and everything returns to Him. This gesture reprograms the mind, and the mind, in turn, reprograms reality. You can also apply the same principle. Every time you pass through your door, silently say, "May everything I carry be light. May everything that enters be peace." These words alter the vibrational field of your life. Kabbalists also taught about Tzimtzum, the divine contraction. Before creating the universe, God withdrew His light to make space for existence. The same applies to abundance. For it to enter, space must be made. Remove purposeless objects, release heavy emotions, forgive, let go. Energy needs space to flow. A home filled with gratitude is like a vessel that never empties. And when this home is protected, it becomes a magnetic field for blessings. The ancients stated, "He who purifies his door purifies his destiny." It's not about accumulating, but about becoming a constant channel of light. This is true prosperity. And this prosperity does not only happen on a material level, but also emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. When body, home, and soul are in harmony, the universe responds. To apply this in your life, start with 3 simple actions. Bless your entrance, purify your home, share light. Each small gesture creates an invisible shield. The Talmud says, "Kindness is a stronger armor than iron." Kabbalah teaches that prosperity is a direct reflection of the movement of the soul. The more light you share, the more space the universe creates to bless you. Placing something at the door is symbolic, but true power lies in living the meaning. That is why Jews prosper, because they understand that the material world is merely a reflection of the spiritual world. They care for the invisible as much as they care for the visible. They create space. They give thanks before receiving. They act with purpose. And thus, they align the home, the heart, and the destiny. In the view of the ancient masters of Kabbalah, abundance is not a reward. It is a natural consequence of balance. When a person aligns with the laws of creation, everything flows. When they stray from them, everything gets stuck. That is why wise men said that protection and prosperity walk side by side. Where there is light, evil finds no dwelling. Where there is order, chaos does not take root. Imagine a house where there is peace, where every object has a purpose, where spoken words carry respect. This environment vibrates in harmony. The universe recognizes this order and responds with opportunities, synchronicities, and open paths. Now imagine the opposite. A disorganized home where harsh words echo on the walls, where resentments are kept. This vibration creates gaps. Everything heavy finds a way through. The mezuzah, the symbol placed on the door, represents exactly that. A living reminder that protection begins from within. It holds inside the text that declares the unity of the Creator. And this reminder is the true shield. Because the greatest threat is not external but internal, disconnection from the light. When someone is disconnected, everything feels heavy, everything stalls, everything darkens. But when reconnecting, even silently, the energetic field lights up, and the home responds. The wise also taught that true protection is built through daily actions. When you feed someone who is hungry, you protect your home. When you forgive, you clear the energetic field. When you offer a kind word, you create an invisible wall around your life. The Talmud says, kindness is a stronger armor than iron. Kabbalah states that prosperity is a reflection of the movement of the soul. The more light you share, the more space the universe creates to bless you. That is why the object on the door is symbolic, but its power depends on intention. The mezuzah is a reminder, a sign of commitment to the light. It says, I live in awareness. I live with purpose. And this awareness transforms any space, not out of superstition, but out of spiritual coherence. When the interior and exterior align, the flow is established. Want to apply this practically? Start with 3 actions. Bless your entrance. Every time you cross the door, silently say a word of gratitude. Purify your home. Open windows. Remove what is not needed. Allow energy to circulate. Share light, a small donation, a kind word, forgiveness granted. Each gesture opens invisible doors. Every choice creates movement. In Kabbalah, this is called Olam Hatikun, the world of correction. Every conscious action corrects a part of reality. And when you do this, you not only protect your home, you become a participant in the very reconstruction of creation. Now, see something even deeper. Kabbalah teaches that time is not linear, it is a circle. Everything we do returns to us multiplied, like waves forming in water and returning to the starting point. That is why wise people treated each physical act as a seed in the fabric of time. When someone places something at the door, they are not only protecting the present, they are programming the future. They are telling the universe, in this space, only light is permitted to enter. And this declaration echoes through time. The Zohar, one of the oldest texts of Kabbalah, states that each home has a guardian angel, a living energy that responds to the spiritual level of those living there. When there is gratitude, the guardian strengthens. When there is disharmony, it weakens. When the door is marked with words of light, whether the Shema Israel or any blessing spoken with intention, this guardian re-emerges and the house begins to vibrate at a higher level. It is not just protection, it is energetic reconfiguration. But protection is only the first step. Prosperity, according to the masters, is a consequence. Light does not flow to those who hoard, it flows to those who circulate. When the Jew prospers, he donates, helps, shares. Because he understands the law of flow, everything that closes off dies, everything that flows lives. Want abundance? Observe the flow of your own soul. What are you holding back? Which inner doors are you keeping locked out of fear, guilt, resentment? These doors block exactly the channel through which prosperity enters. In Kabbalah, there is the principle of Yesod, the foundation. It is the channel between the spiritual and the material worlds. When this channel is clear, abundance descends like rain upon fertile ground. But when it is blocked, energy disperses. Therefore, every time someone touches the mezuzah or makes a blessing gesture when crossing the door, they are actually performing energetic maintenance. They are reminding us that protection and prosperity are not separate forces, but expressions of the same field of light. You can apply this principle symbolically. Before sleeping, thank for the doors that opened during the day. In the morning, bless those that are yet to come. Small rituals build great destinies. The more awareness you put into your actions, the more the universe seems to cooperate with you. Coincidences increase. Opportunities arise. Life finds rhythm. It's as if the universe says, "Now you speak my language." At the center of all this is the door, the threshold between who you were and who you are becoming. The mezuzah is merely the physical reminder of an eternal dialogue between human and divine, between home and cosmos, between matter and spirit. And this dialogue continues within you. The Kabbalist said, "Just as there are doors in the world, there are doors in the soul." Thoughts are doors, emotions are doors, words are doors, and each of them can open the way to light or darkness. The Talmud teaches that the true sage is one who guards their own internal doors. It's useless to put a symbol of protection outside if, inside, the mind is open to what is destructive. Evil does not enter through the house, it enters through thought. True protection begins in the mind. In Kabbalah, the mind, called Moach, is the first creative portal. Everything begins as thought. Think scarcity and you create scarcity. Think light and you attract light. Think fear and you build the scene of fear. The universe simply responds to what you vibrate. That is why Jews are disciplined with their words. Each word is considered a creative spark, and the scroll on the door also exists as a reminder. Watch what you let into your mind and what you let out of your mouth. Want to start today? Observe your words for a single day. Eliminate expressions of scarcity. Replace them with expressions of choice, confidence, and direction. This simple change opens invisible doors. Then comes the portal of the heart, called Lev. The heart is the space where the divine touches the human. When you feel love, forgiveness, compassion, the heart expands and the light flows. When it carries envy, anger, or guilt, the heart closes. And when the heart closes, no prosperity enters. The heart is the most sacred mezuzah. It is the most powerful portal. And then, when mind, heart, and home align, something grand happens. Nothing can penetrate this field of harmony. You literally become a house of light. The masters used to say, "Whoever guards their outer door, guards their home. Whoever guards their internal doors, guards their destiny." And destiny, in the Jewish view, is not chance. It is consciousness. The mezuzah placed on the door is the final reminder. The light dwells here. But this phrase has an even deeper meaning. It says, "The light dwells within you." And when this light is ignited, your house becomes a temple, and your life becomes a path of fullness, purpose, and abundance. And when you walk through your door today, remember, there are doors that, once opened, never close again.